I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here this wonderful Sunday morning. It's bright and early, and one of the earliest things that were under development was hydrogen, the first element of the periodic table, and so that's perfect right for our talk. First off, what is molecular hydrogen? Well, here's the molecule here. It's two hydrogen atoms that are bound together to form the molecule molecular hydrogen. It's the Hindenburg, it's the hydrogen gas. We have talked about hydrogen gas as an alternative energy source for many years, using fuel cells. It's 3 times more energy dense than gasoline. So that's where most of research of hydrogen has been. However, recently, hydrogen gas has been shown to be therapeutic and medicinal. And I came across this whole hydrogen gas area about 6 years ago or so, and I was really astounded. And I wanted to learn more about it, and I started doing more research, reading more articles, just going through everything that I possibly could. I was an undergrad. My degree was biochemistry. I continued reading all these articles. I got more and more excited about it. I did a number of just research projects here and there. And then for my internship to complete my degree in biochemistry, I had the opportunity to go to Nagoya University in Japan. And that was a big deal because Nagoya is the 5th most prestigious university there in Japan. It's very well recognized. And I had the opportunity to go over there and research with some of the brightest minds in the world of academia. And my mentor, Dr. Kenji Ono, he is the vice dean of Nagoya University in the Department of Neurogenetics. And it's very interesting how he got into this whole area of hydrogen gas. And his story is basically, he heard a lot of anecdotes and other colleagues talking about this whole hydrogen gas idea and its possibility that it could be medicinal and therapeutic. And he, being rather skeptical and a very respected scientist in his field of neurogenetics and all the things he's done at the Mayo Clinic and other places throughout his life, he didn't quite want to do the whole hydrogen gas thing because he was very skeptical and almost sounded a little like pseudoscience or something. And so what he decided to do is do an in-house study where he was going to see the effects of hydrogen gas on Parkinson's disease. So he took rats and injected them with a toxin to induce a Parkinson's disease in them. And then he had, in a controlled trial, he had some of the rats drink water that contains dissolved hydrogen gas, and of course the other rats just drink normal water. What he saw changed his research career because he saw that the rats drinking the hydrogen-rich water, it totally prevented the development of Parkinson's disease. So when he saw that with his own eyes in his own lab, that totally changed research career, and now he is focused entirely on trying to elucidate what the underlying molecular mechanisms and primary targets of hydrogen gas is. And that's also my primary desire or goal or emphasis, is what interests me the most, is how is hydrogen gas working? Well, welcome everybody. We're having Dr. Ota here from Japan, from Nippon Medical University, where he researched the molecular hydrogen. Here we're with the Molecular Hydrogen Foundation, of which I'm the executive director, and we are a science-based nonprofit that's focused on advancing the research, awareness, and education of hydrogen as a therapeutic medical gas. And we have the pioneering researcher here, Dr. Ota, who was responsible for publishing the 2007 Nature Medicine publication that showed hydrogen has beneficial effects. And since then, the research has grown quite rapidly. So, Dr. Ota, a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So you researched there at the Nippon Medical School.
Yeah.
I know you recently retired. Your expertise is in the mitochondria and things. Perhaps you could share with our viewers a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the hydrogen research.
Okay, so as my background, I spent 40 years for the mitochondrial research, especially on mitochondrial medicine. I found mutant genes of the mitochondrial DNA that cause mitochondrial disease. So I was interested in how mitochondria contribute to our health. And then we found mitochondria generate reactive oxygen species. Damage our cells and body. But we found reactive oxygen, some of the reactive oxygen has a beneficial effect. So it is so difficult. If we destroyed all the reactive oxygen species, it's not so good. I'm wondering whether we can treat reactive oxygen species. That is my background. And then we found that hydrogen can remove some of the reactive oxygen species such as hydroxyl radicals. And then developed so many hydrogen effects. Afterwards, yeah.
Okay, so your expertise is in the mitochondria.
Yeah.
You found that mitochondria produce reactive oxygen species,
Yeah.
which are very damaging to the body, but some of them are actually good for us. So we don't want to neutralize all of them. And so your hope or your goal was to find some way to neutralize only the bad free radicals, only the bad reactive oxygen
Yeah.
species, and then you came across hydrogen.
Yeah.
And you started to find that, hey, this is a selective antioxidant.
Yeah.
It only scavenges the bad ones, like the
Okay.
hydroxyl radical.
じゃあ結構活性酸素というのは無敵な感じだったんですね。
ちょっと複雑な話になってしまうんですけども、今まで活性酸素っていうとですね、全部悪者っていう考え方したんですね。昔コレステロールもですね、コレステロール悪いと、で最近は善玉と悪玉があるって分かってきましたよね。で活性酸素もですね、必要な部分も実はあってですね、でそれを私たちは善玉活性酸素と悪玉活性酸素と呼ぶようにしたんですね。で善玉活性酸素を全部取っちゃうとですね、ちょっと寿命がかえって短くなってしまうというちょっと怖い話なんですけども、でそこで私の研究っていうのは、そう善玉は消さないけど悪玉を消すのはどうしたらいいかっていうのが水素の研究なんですよ。で水素はその悪玉の方だけを消して善玉は消さないっていう性質なんですね。
すごい
ですからその活性酸素をなくすっていうだけじゃなくて、それをちゃんと分けて消してくれるっていう、それが非常に優れものなんですね。
Okay, but the story is not so simple.
Okay.
Because hydrogen regulate signal transduction and also many gene expression.
Yeah, I was
So,
going to
yeah.
ask you about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
because, just by saying hydrogen can scavenge hydroxyl radicals, we know this cannot explain all the benefits of hydrogen.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I know you published some papers in the scientific reports
Yeah.
and signal transduction and the changes in gene expression.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can talk a little bit about this.
Okay, so in the initial stage, I was interested in the acute disease such as cerebral infarction or the cardiac infarction. And that time, so hydrogen is effective in a short time, 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But for the later we found drinking hydrogen water is effective. Sometimes more effective than inhalation of hydrogen gas. So for me, it is curious and takes the effect was continued for a long time, at least one day or so. So, and also we found the hydrogen release so rapidly. So even without hydrogen, the effect continue for a long time. So it is curious. So I look at effect signal transaction and gene expression. That is my thinking.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you started to see that hydrogen could be effective in the acute phase due to this maybe hydroxyl radical scavenging,
Yeah.
but then you saw it's actually effective like drinking hydrogen-rich water in a more of a chronic stage when all the hydrogen gas is really gone and out of the body.
Yeah,
it still has this residual or beneficial effect.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, maybe we're altering gene expression or something, and that's what prompted you to start the studies in signal transduction.
Okay, and also I would say that at first I want to spend time to find the effect of hydrogen gas at first.
Okay.
But actually, the effect of the drinking hydrogen water is better than inhalation of hydrogen gas.
Drinking hydrogen-rich water is just as effective and sometimes more effective. In fact, in a Parkinson's disease study, only the hydrogen-rich water was effective, whereas a continuous administration of hydrogen inhalation was not effective, and that could be to the need of an intermittent or pulse type of exposure as opposed to this continuous exposure. So drinking hydrogen-rich water, of course, is the easiest and is a very effective way of getting the hydrogen gas. Oh, so you mean you wanted to just see the effect of hydrogen gas, like inhalation, and then you later found that actually drinking hydrogen-rich water is often more effective.
Yes, that's right.
And so you're like, well, this is very strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of money for the make equipment for hydrogen gas, but it was in vain. So
Okay.
I lost a lot of money for research, and so I spent a lot of time for the research of hydrogen gas, hydrogen water. So it for me, and at that time, it was very curious.
So
Yeah.
when did you start researching the hydrogen gas? When did you first come across this concept and started actually doing the research?
Okay. So it was very difficult to find the mechanisms. So I was thinking for 5 years, and at that one day I thought that is a free radical reactive free radical chain reaction should be important. Otherwise, hydrogen is inert and inactive, and hydrogen should not be effective.
Right.
Yeah, but I could not exclude other possibilities.
Sure.
Yeah. I think this is one of the mechanisms.
One of the mechanisms.
Yeah.
I think this is an important point because when you look at hydrogen gas, for example, if you drink hydrogen saturated water, the concentration at saturation is about 0.8 millimolar or 1.6 ppm, which is about 1.6 milligrams per liter. And if you were to drink a full liter of water, that can then be diluted to the rest of the body, about 40 liters of water in the human body. So the concentration of hydrogen is very small.
Small.
The amount of hydrogen is very small.
But I think it's not so small.
Okay.
Because after the drinking hydrogen water, the concentration reach about 10 micromolar.
Yes.
Okay. Hydrogen is very light. So if we consider the weight of hydrogen, that is very small. But if we consider the molar,
Molar
or the
mass.
number
Number
of molecules, it is not so small.
I'm glad that you brought that up. This is a critical point. People see hydrogen, there's only 1.6 milligrams of hydrogen in a saturated liter of water, which, this is not very much. But it's because it's so light. The molar mass of hydrogen is only 2 grams per mole, but vitamin C is about 176 grams per mole. So actually, if you compare the amount of molecules of hydrogen gas that are saturated in 1 liter of water to the amount of molecules of vitamin C in 100 milligrams of vitamin C, you actually find there are a lot more molecules of hydrogen gas in 1 liter that contains 1.6 ppm than there are molecules of vitamin C in a 100 milligram dose of vitamin C.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
it actually is quite a bit, right?
Signal transduction regulates phosphorylation of various kind of enzyme. So, and hydroxynonenal regulate phosphorylation of some kinase on the other transcriptional factors.
Okay, and then this ends up leading to the FGF21
Yeah.
and the anti-obesity effects and things. Right? This is because what happens is 4-hydroxynonenal is this byproduct from oxidation, and it basically it forms adducts, or it basically hugs proteins and says you're not going anywhere, and prevents them from acting on the genes. And when you administer hydrogen gas, it prevents the increase of 4-hydroxynonenal, and that in turn leads to the upregulation of these genes, or it kind of rescues their effect, so it can keep those levels high.
Yeah.
So this leads to another increase in PGC1 alpha.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits of having an increase in PGC1 alpha?
Oh yeah, PGC1 alpha has a multiple function. So so hydrogen increase or decrease of PGC1 alpha. The PGC1 alpha shows a lot of function. So that's why hydrogen has a multiple function.
What are some of the functions?
For example, a PGC1 alpha regulate energy metabolism and also increase mitochondria.
Right, because it's a marker of mitochondrial biogenesis. So in other words, we have more mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So by having more PGC1 alpha, we're seeing an indicator of more mitochondria, so we have a better power supply to our body. So how does this relate to maybe fatigue or to various diseases or even exercise?
Yeah, and so if the hydrogen increase energy metabolism, and that prevents metabolic syndrome.
Okay, prevents metabolic syndrome, which is like the obesity, high cholesterol, high fat, hypertension.
Yeah. So many diseases.
So many. Because really that is one of the, as you sit back as a scientist and you hear that hydrogen is able to help with this disease, this disease, this disease, this disease. We're pretty much about 170 different disease models.
Yes, that's right.
Where hydrogen has shown to have this effect.
Yeah.
So right now, molecular hydrogen has shown to have therapeutic potential in over 150 human and animal disease models. The last count is actually closer to 170 different human and animal disease models. And essentially every organ of the human body, whether the spleen, the pancreas, the brain, the heart, the testes, the placenta, and we'll talk about more of these in detail. The number of research articles on molecular hydrogen are also growing exponentially. It really started about 2007. And the reason why is because, there's lots of journals and more popping up these days. But journals, as you know, in the peer review are tiered at higher levels, and this is generally based on its impact factor. In 2007, there were about 50 articles that were published on the medical effects of hydrogen gas and its potential as being therapeutic. But no one really took a lot of interest. One of the first articles was in 1975 by Baylor University and Texas A&M showing that hyperbaric hydrogen has a marked regression of tumors, melanoma tumors. It's very strange. It's almost a red flag. Something isn't right. But you're saying here, it's really not so complicated because when you see that hydrogen affects PGC1 alpha.
Yes, that's right. And another pathway, the hydrogen downregulation of NFAT, which is one of the transcriptional factor. In this case, downregulation. Okay, for the PGC1 alpha, hydrogen upregulates. So sometimes upregulate and sometimes downregulate.
Okay, this is a critical point. I want to get back to this. I want to talk about NFAT just a little bit more. What is the effect of NFAT? When NFAT is activated, what are the consequences?
And NFAT is contribute the regulation with inflammatory cytokine.
Okay, inflammatory diseases, the cytokines that cause the like swelling or pain or diseases.
So, and at least I show the two pathways for the inflammation and the energy metabolism.
Which is one NFAT and the other PGC1 alpha.
But hydrogen has more multiple functions. So there must be another
mechanism.
Yeah.
So, so you back to your point where you said sometimes hydrogen can upregulate things and sometimes hydrogen can downregulate things. This is also very, very curious, very strange. It's like hydrogen has a mind of its own. It knows what to do. It upregulates the good stuff, downregulates the bad stuff. But hydrogen can alter the levels of activities of over 200 different biomolecules. I got 200 biomolecules. I just went through a bunch of articles, and I'm like, okay, that's a transcription factor, that's a protein, and this is not mRNA. Remember, because you do, RT-PCR or something, you have different, mRNA levels or whatnot. That doesn't actually account to like your Western blot of an actual protein. So these are all things that have been altered on the protein level, which is what matters. And hydrogen gas is able to upregulate or to downregulate over 200 of these different things. How? I don't know. It's too small to have its own brain, right?
Oh, yeah, brain, yeah.
Do you see other things where hydrogen is able to upregulate other transcription factors or other areas or downregulate other things?
And Matsumoto and Noda's group showed the increase of ghrelin. Which is kind of a hormone from stomach.
Right. This is Dr. Mami Noda. She's also one of our MHF advisors. She was a researcher at Rockefeller University, and she's there at Kyushu University, and she found that oral consumption of hydrogen-rich water induced gastric ghrelin secretion. So ghrelin, where does that come from?
Come from stomach.
From the stomach.
So if we drink hydrogen water, hydrogen increase the concentration of the stomach easily.
Yeah, the ghrelin secretion. And what are some of the benefits of having an increased amount of ghrelin?
Ghrelin reach to brain and protect the neural cells.
Okay, so it has neurological benefits as well as I know some anti-inflammatory effects. Actually, so ghrelin is considered the hunger hormone. So many of people these days are familiar with the intermittent fasting or the benefits of fasting or caloric restriction, right? And perhaps some of those benefits of this caloric restriction are mediated by increased gastric ghrelin production. So it's interesting because it seems that hydrogen seems to mimic some of the same effects as fasting, some of the same effects as caloric restriction. You also published a paper in the Journal of Obesity, that's the one with the FGF21, right? Can you explain some of those effects and some of the benefits that you saw in that publication?
Okay, so at first, hydrogen involved in oxidative stress at first.
At first, oxidative stress.
So, but and also hydrogen is effective on energy metabolism.
Right, but increasing PGC1 alpha, more mitochondria.
At that time, we couldn't find the effect of PGC1 alpha at first.
Okay.
So I found a phenomenon for the energy metabolism because when we applied hydrogen water to DB mice, the mouse cannot regulate the eating.
So it's a genetic mutation, right?
Yeah.
The mice had a genetic mutation; they cannot regulate how much food they were taking.
But after drinking hydrogen water for a long time, the mice become slim.
Okay. So,
and also we measure the energy metabolism, and that is a phenomenon. It's not mechanism. So I continue to find the mechanism.
Okay, so in that publication you found this is the phenomena that you're seeing increases in FGF21. You see increase in energy expenditure. That same article they showed that drinking hydrogen-rich water had a similar effect to, was it a 15 or 20% caloric restriction?
Yeah, that's right.
And since I give a presentation and I showed the animals that are in the two mice that are in the on the slide, and I say, these two mice they grew up together, they did everything together. But one drank hydrogen water and one did not, and the effects are very clear. It's very surprising. And then later you did the studies to figure out the mechanism to explain this phenomenon.
So it's important to find the mechanism because nobody believes the effect without mechanism.
Right. But these are animal studies that we talked about here. What are some of the human studies that kind of corroborate some of the anti-obesity effects?
So I'm a basic scientist. I cannot do by myself, but I can help the clinicians. And also we are applying to hydrogen gas for patients with cerebral infarction.
Okay.
Recently we published a paper on cerebral infarction, and that is a randomized clinical studies. And
So that was a recent
yeah.
publication, just a couple months ago.
Yes, 1 month.
Okay. Just 1 month ago. Yeah.
And the subject is 50.
50 subjects,
Yeah.
double-blinded, placebo-controlled, randomized
Oh,
study.
yeah, actually, it's not double blind.
It's not, but so open label, but 50 people.
I mean that is a randomized, but it's not blind for doctors.
Oh, sure,
Doctors,
sure,
yeah.
yeah. And this is yeah. Yeah, so single blind on parts of it.
Yeah. So I would say it's blind, but not complete blind.
Right.
Okay. So, and it's not placebo, but the approved medicine. Okay.
Yeah. Explain this. So
Okay,
hydrogen.
okay,
Yeah. Explain. This is very interesting, groundbreaking. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, and that is experiment that is studied, and for the half of them, that is 25 patients, inhaled hydrogen gas, and doctors applied the approved medical drug for 25 patients. So that is a comparison of the hydrogen gas and approved medical drugs.
Yeah. Do you get that? So you have an approved medical drug that's being compared head to head
Yeah.
with inhalation of hydrogen gas. 2%.
Yes, 3%.
3%. Okay, 3% hydrogen. And remember, hydrogen is not flammable when it's below a 4.6%
that's
concentration.
right,
So
yeah.
we're not running the risk of blowing up the Japanese hospital or something.
Okay, so and the result of the hydrogen gas is much better than that one of the
Than the approved-
medical
Medical
drugs.
drug.
And as judged by clinical phenotype, symptom, and the effect for rehabilitation, all of them. So it was surprised.
Yeah, that's a very surprising effect.
Yeah.
It's not just in Asia, but also here it's growing in the U.S. A number of these universities and organizations are also doing hydrogen research. You see NASA, some of them are actually looking into using hydrogen-rich water. You can take the gas and put it into water, and astronauts can drink that to protect them from the radiation damage during space travel. And now they're doing a very large clinical trial. The Japanese government recently approved in December, I believe, hydrogen inhalation as an official medical procedure for post-cardiac arrest patients.
That is another story, and they are trying to apply the hydrogen gas for 360 patients
360 patients.
with cardiac arrest, post-syndrome.
Because normally they do a hypothermia, right? So can you explain why they would do a hypothermia, or when the effects of this hydrogen gas, what the idea is?
Because we performed several animal experiments, and we found the hydrogen gas protect the brain.
Right.
And usually after the cardiac arrest.
So after you have a heart attack.
Yes, it is difficult to protect the brain.
Right, because when you start the blood to go back to the brain, you cause a lot of damage.
So hydrogen has only one advantage. I mean, the hydrogen is very good for survive the patient, and protect the brain.
to help to make the patient survive longer,
Oh, yeah.
as well as to protect the brain. Brain. So
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
a two-pronged
Yeah.
benefit.
Yeah. That is just on the way, but that the huge clinical studies, the target of the patient number is 360.
Yeah.
By 20 hospitals.
Yeah, and these are very reputable hospitals, like Keio University.
Keio University is Keio University.
Keio University. Ah,
Yeah.
そうですね。
Yeah. And another story, that is acute disease. Okay. And also, we are trying to get a good result by for the chronic disease, for the rheumatism and Parkinson disease and dementia.
And already there is the double-blinded, placebo-controlled, randomized study. It was
Yeah.
small, maybe 20 patients or
yes,
something
yes.
on rheumatoid arthritis.
No, 17 patients.
17. Okay, almost
Okay.
20. 17.
And now they are trying to clinical study. Target is 186.
186.
Yeah.
That would be great. This study, you can go back and read it, 2012, 2013, 2014, around that time. There's a couple of publications in the same area with rheumatoid arthritis, but it was very powerful. In fact, some of the subjects who were drinking hydrogen water went under remission of the disease. They really helped decrease the inflammation and the C-reactive protein and another number of other biomarkers of the disease.
Yeah. And the potential of hydrogen water is to improve the teeth gum. How to say gum?
The gum.
Gum,
Yeah,
yeah.
like the gingivitis
Yeah.
and the okay. Yeah.
So the scientist and the medical doctor performed a lot of study. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the target of the disease is so much.
So many different diseases.
Yeah.
That most diseases have two problems. One of them is a redox dysregulation. Redox dysregulation is a term I often use to explain that you can have free radicals. Remember, there's the good and there's bad. You need a balance. And there's antioxidants. You can actually get too many antioxidants, right? So you want to have a good balance between oxidation and reduction. And that oxidation reduction is called redox. And so this is, when you have a redox dysregulation, that sets up for diseases.
Yeah.
So there's a redox dysregulation as well as a dysregulation of inflammation. Because we also need basal levels of inflammation. And if we have too much, then we have all these diseases. If we don't have enough, then we're going to get sick easy. We're not going to heal. We actually don't improve better when we exercise. So we need some basal inflammation, but if we have a dysregulation, then we can get all these diseases. So all of these things are very important to consider with patients with chronic diseases who may be suffering in their cells. Oxidative stress. Consider this. Consider this, that in the cell, there's a new article published, I think in Science, that showed that you can have a cell that in one compartment, say the endoplasmic reticulum, which, that's important, the ER is important for protein folding, right? And protein misfolding is like, what is the cause of aging and everything? Well, guess what? As you age, the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, actually loses its stability, its oxidative power, its oxidative potential. It doesn't have enough, because there's not as much oxidative potential. So again, we have to have that oxidative potential. So in the ER, we're having not enough oxidative potential, but in the cytosol, we're having too much oxidative potential. So in the exact same cell, we're having a dysregulation of redox homeostasis. So we have two main root causes. A dysregulation in the redox and inflammation.
Yeah.
And would you agree, hydrogen?
Yes, I completely agree with you.
Hydrogen appears to help both of these things.
Yeah. So I think that we must change the thinking.
Our paradigm. Our paradigm. Now, is this the study actually that you also published in, I think, 2008 with the apolioprotein E knockout mice?
Yeah.
And so they had this gene mutation that developed atherosclerosis very quickly. And when the mice drank hydrogen-rich water, it prevented the development of atherosclerosis. Is this right?
Yes, that's right.
So but when you found with the inhalation, the constant continuous exposure, maybe you saw some marginal effect at the beginning, in the initial stage, and then it kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But by the drinking hydrogen-rich water, you saw throughout the study. Which would make sense, I guess, because when you drink hydrogen water, even though it's every day, right? Constantly drinking every day, but it's still intermittent exposure because you drink it, once or a few times a day. Let's talk about the pharmacokinetics of hydrogen then. When we drink hydrogen-rich water, about 500 milliliters, how long until it actually gets into our blood and things?
And it takes a very short time, and without the 10 to 20 minutes, we consume the hydrogen. After drinking.
Okay, so after about 10 or 20 minutes or so, we drink the hydrogen and we start to see, we already see levels, the peak level in the blood, as well as in the breath.
And for at 20 or 30 minutes or so. Yeah.
And then how long does the hydrogen stay in the body before it's pretty much you excel it out?
About 1 hour.
About 1 hour. So you can see the line, it peaks around, it depends on how much the dose you ingest, but it can peak anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes or so. It'll have the peak, and then it's going to go back to baseline in about an hour.
Yeah.
And this would also help support the idea that it has more to do with modulating signal transduction than it does as an anti, free radical or something, right? But this is interesting because hydrogen gas modulating signal transduction. Hydrogen is a gas, though. I mean, it's not a transcription factor. It's not a drug that does these things. If we compare this to other gases, such as nitric oxide, right? This would be a fun little thing, because nitric oxide is also a gas. When it was first thought that this thing was called endothelial releasing factor or relaxing factor, and it was suggested it was a gas that was doing this, and the people were laughed at, right?
Yeah.
They thought, no, gases can't do this.
Yeah.
And then later they found it was nitric oxide. It is a gas, and it is having this effect.
Yeah.
Molecular hydrogen in drinking water protects against neurodegenerative changes induced by traumatic brain injury. This is from the University of Washington and Wisconsin and a couple organizations. This is an amazing article. It's still kind of difficult to believe, but these are pretty good researchers. But they found that hydrogen gas is really was protective on the mitochondria and the ATP production. And actually, they suggested that hydrogen gas could actually increase ATP levels via what's called the Jagendorf reaction, which is interesting. It's in the mitochondria. It doesn't really rely on the electron transport chain. We don't need to go into that, but it's pretty interesting what we're finding here. The oral intake of hydrogen-rich water ameliorated chlorophyllus-induced neurotoxicity in rats. That's just an organophosphate, a normal pesticide, and it's a big deal. Are these pesticides hurting us? All this kind of stuff. And I guess there's some debate about that, but what we see, though, is hydrogen gas can actually offer some protection against the neurotoxicity caused by this stuff. In this article, it did so by activating the acetylcholinesterase activity, which again is difficult to believe because that's already has a very high K-cap. But I actually talked to the researcher who did this when I was in Beijing, and I talked about her results, and she went on about them. She did numerous experiments, and I was like, oh no, but they're really going after this stuff, and regardless, that was her kind of mechanism of how it's working. Regardless, though, hydrogen gas was protective in this area. Here, hydrogen-rich water protects against ischemic brain injury in rats by regulating calcium buffering proteins. So again, we have this whole brain injuries and things, which again is a huge issue these days. Hydrogen gas is very neuroprotective. This is awesome. Hydrogen-rich water ameliorates amyloid beta-induced neurotoxicities like Alzheimer's, for example. This is through the upregulation of SIRT1 FOXO3A by stimulation of AMP-activated protein kinase SNKNC-MC cells. So that's awesome because, of course, the SIRT1 protein is it's okay. I understand. It's awesome though. Here. Hydrogen-rich water improves neurological function through the attenuation of the blood-brain barrier disruption in spontaneously hypertensive prone rats. So that may be one of the reasons why hydrogen gas is also effective. It can help attenuate the blood-brain barrier. And we know it's a big thing when you have a disruption in that via hypertension or drugs or what have you. Hydrogen gas may be able to ameliorate some of those things. Oral hydrogen water induces neuroprotective ghrelin secretion. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, right? This is very interesting. You've heard about the benefits of fasting before, the intermittent fasting and different things of this nature. Well, one of the reasons that fasting is beneficial for you is because you increase ghrelin. And ghrelin acts as a second messenger, is extremely protective, neuroprotective, has lots and lots of benefits. So one of the reasons that fasting is good for you is because you have ghrelin. Well, one of the reasons drinking hydrogen-rich water is good for you is because you also enact gastric ghrelin secretion, and that ghrelin in turn acts as a second messenger to go and help different parts of the brain. And actually in the Parkinson's disease studies that I've talked about and I'll talk about again, it was most likely ghrelin that acted as a second messenger to offer that cytoprotective effect of the Substantia nigra even more so than hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas did so indirectly via the second messenger ghrelin. And here it is right here, pilot study of H2 therapy in Parkinson's disease, a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. This is a 48 trial they did, and awesome results. And of course, I've heard of, there's anecdotal case reports of people taking the hydrogen-producing tablets. They'll put them in the water in people with Parkinson's disease. Often what I would say is it's not going to give a reversal of the Parkinson's, but maybe a better quality of life, maybe decrease the aging that's going to occur. The downward spiral that generally occurs in Parkinson's disease. However, I've heard quite a few reports now, people who are taking the hydrogen, that they're have the symptoms. You can see they have the symptoms, and then after a few weeks or whatever of them taking the hydrogen, they totally don't even have that anymore, and they wouldn't be diagnosed as having the Parkinson's disease. So I guess in some cases maybe it is possible to have these types of reversals. Hydrogen-rich water. Hydrogen-rich water enhances the 5-FU, which is a chemotherapy drug, inhibition of colon cancer. This is very powerful. Chemotherapy, widely used. It's very toxic, of course, to cancer cells. Hopefully that's the goal, but also to our cells. And first off, a lot of studies are showing that hydrogen gas can actually protect the negative side effects of various chemotherapy drugs, like renal-induced neurotoxicity, some different things. So hydrogen gas can protect against the negative side effects of drugs like aspirin-induced gastric mucosal injury, chemotherapy. In this study, hydrogen gas actually offered an additive effect of the chemotherapy drug, where this is a colon cancer.
Yes, that's right.
But hydrogen gas is neutral and
Neutral.
nonpolar,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it is very strange. So I guess technically speaking, according to the definitions of gas-based signal modulators, hydrogen cannot be considered a signal modulator. Technically, because I think some of the criteria, for example, it needs to be produced by the actual mammalian cell. Right, and hydrogen gas is not, but yet it still has this.
Yeah.
This effect. On signal
So it's
transduction.
difficult to explain the effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to energy metabolism, increasing PGC1 alpha, mitochondrial biogenesis, and the fact that I'm going to tie this into exercise and performance and things is what I want to do. But to kind of set the stage a little bit, when we look at exercise, we produce more free radicals. We're breathing more, by default we'll produce more free radicals. And these free radicals, reactive oxygen species, have been shown to actually mediate some of the benefits of exercise. They actually activate transcription factors and cause these benefits. And some of the human studies have shown that by taking high doses of antioxidants chronically during training can actually negate or abolish the benefits of exercise training, perhaps because it's neutralizing those beneficial free radicals. So when we talk about hydrogen is a selective antioxidant. It'll only neutralize the bad ones, and it'll keep the good ones. And it also has that enhancing effect at enhancing things like PGC1 alpha. So it makes a lot of sense that hydrogen could be great for athletes, for sports.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
okay, I just recently did a study, a double-blind and placebo-controlled trial on hydrogen and athletes, and I know you're doing this as well, but what are some of the findings that you've seen and that are already published, like the one on elite soccer players, for example? What are your thoughts on hydrogen?
Okay. And we measured the maximum oxygen consumption.
VO2 max.
By bicycle. And we compared the before and after drinking hydrogen water. Okay, at first we asked the volunteer to perform the bicycle.
The bicycle, to get a baseline.
And we take a baseline. And after drinking, and after 1 week, we performed the same experiment, and we compare the difference. And also we use placebo water, and the placebo water did not change at all.
Did not change the baseline.
Yeah. But after the drink hydrogen water, the maximum oxygen consumption increased.
That to me, that's very surprising because VO2 max is difficult to improve. In fact, if you look at the elite athletes, for example, they'll train for years and their performance will continue to get better and better, but their VO2 max will stay the same. And that's because they improve running economy, for example, or different things. You don't really improve VO2 max. So to suggest that we're actually improving VO2 max, but the fact that we can change that to increase that is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talk about the lactate, or people call incorrectly lactic acid.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Another group examined the blood lactate after the exercise.
Yeah, this is elite soccer players.
And also, hydrogen suppresses the increase of lactate in blood. Yeah.
So people sometimes don't understand the significance of this. They think, oh yeah, because now we don't have the lactate and that causes fatigue. But we know that's not true. Lactate actually prevents fatigue. It actually prevents acidosis. And what really happens is it's a correlation. When you start to get fatigued or tired, then you start to rely on glycolysis, and that's when you start producing the lactate. And what happens is the hydrogen somehow maybe it's able to help mitochondrial function.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because
then prevents the lactate production.
Is the result of glycolysis. So after the drink of hydrogen water, the metabolism change from the glycolysis to lipid fatty acid metabolism.
Right, which kind of corroborates with your earlier study, which is increasing energy expenditure and things. So it all starts coming together, and that's the other thing I mentioned earlier, that it seems that hydrogen mimics the benefits of fasting, of caloric restriction, but it also seems that hydrogen mimics the benefits of exercise.
Yes, that's right. So it is also curious story. So.
Yes, and it's very strange because some of the studies we actually see that hydrogen can. Could you explain a little bit about the NRF2, hydrogen's effect on NRF2 and the increased glutathione?
Yes, yeah. Usually oxidative stress increase NRF2, which is one of the transcription factor and transcribes antioxidant enzymes.
Right.
So if the NRF2 is increased or activate, and that function antioxidation. But hydrogen decrease oxidative stress, but increase activity of NRF2. So that is opposite.
It's almost a paradox, right?
Yeah,
where hydrogen is a reducing agent, it's going to reduce oxidative stress, but at the same time it can activate this NRF2 pathway. And maybe it's via this transient increase in superoxide production. We're not sure all the mechanisms, but they're being investigated.
Yeah.
But that's huge because from perhaps aging or different diseases, our levels of, say, glutathione or superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, right? These start to decrease, and administration of hydrogen can get those levels back up.
Yeah. Yes.
But this is something else to consider, Dr. Ota, is we need to have a certain level of glutathione. If it goes low, that's bad. But if we get too high, the glutathione levels go too high, that could be a reductive stress. So I think you've also seen that hydrogen, if you administer hydrogen to a healthy person or a healthy animal or healthy cell, that the glutathione levels are already normal, you don't see the increase in glutathione.
In my opinion, okay, hydrogen lead to normal stage, but not increase. If we drink hydrogen water, when the stress decrease the ability of memory, hydrogen recover the memory ability. But maybe will not increase the memory ability.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's so strange. So I've reviewed pretty much, there's nearly 1,000 publications now on hydrogen, and I've reviewed all of these, and I've seen the same thing, that hydrogen really helps to bring things back to homeostasis. It doesn't increase things too much or decrease things. It's not really powerful, but has multiple functions.
と言われている水素、今日その水素の達人にスタジオにお越しをいただきました。日本医科大学教授でいらっしゃいます太田茂雄先生ですね。先生、よろしくお願いいたします。
よろしくお願いします。
太田教授は水素研究の第一人者。アメリカ医学雑誌ネイチャーメディシンに論文「体内の活性酸素を水素が除去」を発表。精力的に研究を続けています。
実はですね、私もこの健康に関してはね、もともと親父が53でがんでいっちゃいましたし、でおふくろなんかも脳梗塞で2回倒れたりとかして、どっちに転んでもねちょっと怖いなと思いながら、一生懸命ケアしてたら、62歳までね大病することなく来てるわけですよ。でそんな中で僕が今一番注目してるのは水素の力です。これ実際問題、水素ってのはやっぱりね、酸素だとか水素とかいろいろと言われますけれども、これ本当にすごい力なんですか？
それは本当にすごい力なんですよ。
Not really powerful, but has multiple functions.
Okay.
Bring back homeostasis.
Also, we apply the hydrogen water to DBDB mouse, and the DBDB mouse PGC1 alpha increase, but for the normal mouse, PGC1 alpha did not decrease.
So no
decrease and not increase.
So there's no change. So normal.
For the normal one, is no effect by hydrogen water.
And this probably helps to explain why, like myself, I exercise every day. I lift weights. I train. I run marathons. I do these different things, and when I take hydrogen, I don't notice anything.
Oh yeah, you are healthy.
and I think a lot of people give this feedback, but this is kind of anecdotal. But I do hear so many people that who are maybe in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they take hydrogen and they report these dramatic effects. But maybe it's because they're so far out of homeostasis that hydrogen has a greater effect when you're further from homeostasis. But if you're healthy, you may not notice as much.
But for the chronic disease, it takes a long time. For example, for dementia, it takes 40 years to onset dementia. And also the dementia depends on the genetic type.
Yeah.
So that in a specific genetic type, it is healthy, but has a cause in the body. So for the dementia or the cancer or the atherosclerosis, it takes a long time to
develop.
So that is important for the prevention.
Okay, so that's my next question. So let's say that you have people who are healthy.
Yeah.
They don't have these diseases.
Yeah.
Would it be advisable for them to perhaps try the hydrogen and use it to perhaps prolong or prevent this disease that they may be genetically inclined to have?
Hydrogen has a much more role in prevention.
So it's a better preventive than a cure.
Because pre-treatment of hydrogen water is much more effective
Than
than post-treatment.
Yeah.
That suggests hydrogen shows a good role in prevention.
Right. So people who are health conscious, maybe it's a great idea to try the hydrogen, so they can maybe have some prevention.
Yeah.
We haven't found, we're not saying there are no side effects.
Yeah.
We're saying we have not found any side effects. And we've done a lot of studies. There really is a lot of animal studies, cell studies, quite a number of human studies with no reports of adverse effects. And so it does seem to be very, very safe. And we also know it's natural from our intestinal bacteria, right? We're exposed to it all the time. Every time we eat our diet of fiber, for example, we get more of the hydrogen gas. And actually the deep sea diving, right? The deep sea divers.
Yes, yeah.
Since the 1940s, they've been using hydrogen at literally millions of times higher concentrations than what we use for medical use, with again, no chronic or toxic effects.
Yeah, that's right.
先生ね、実は私の家には水素水のウォーターサーバーがありましてね、で、実は我々よりもむしろうちのワンちゃんがもう18歳で2回目の脳梗塞を患ってるんですよ。でもう本当に歩けないような状況になって、これはちょっと危ないかもしれませんって獣医さんに言われたんですよ。でちょうどそのタイミングでその水素水のサーバーが来ましたから、もうできるだけ人間が飲まないで、もううちのワンちゃんだけ飲ませて、そしたら驚異の回復をしたんですよ。
なるほどね。
獣医師さんなんかあれですかって、いや水素水をあげたってね、 はあ、って言ったらこれどう思います？
いやそれはきっと本当だと思うんですね。で活性酸素の害っていうのはですねいろんな病気の原因なんですよ。でがんと脳梗塞って全然違う病気ですよね。
そうですよね。だ
からがんはがんの原因があって脳梗塞は脳梗塞の原因があることはあるんですけど、その大元にあるのは活性酸素なんですよ。ですからがんを抑制するということもできますし、脳梗塞を抑制したり良くなったりする。で実際ですねもうあるクリニックでは脳梗塞の患者さん、人間ですね、ワンちゃんじゃなくて人間の患者さんに使ってるんですよ。もうそれでちゃんと学術論文も発表されてるんですね。人間の脳梗塞に治療を使いましたって、そういう段階まで来てるんですね。
うわ、日本はね超高齢社会になってきて、長寿の方が多くて、100歳を超える方も今4万5千人とかそんなね、
普通になりましたね。100歳を超えましたね。
じゃあだけども僕は思うんですけど、できることならば自立できて、健康寿命がね、100までとか120まで続けばいいなと思うんですけど、その鍵はやっぱ一つは水素ですかね。
そう思いますね。というのはですね、まだ100歳の方をどうかまだわからないんですけども、私たちネズミ使って寿命が伸びるかどうかとかそういう研究をもうやってるんですね。でそうするとですね例えば高脂肪のものを食べさせるネズミはやっぱりだんだん早死にしていくんですね。人間もきっとそうだと思うんですが、ところが水素水を飲んでるとですね高脂肪食を食べててもですね寿命が伸びちゃうんですよ。でもっといいことはですねだんだん死んでいくわけなんですけども、最後の行くところは一緒なんですよ。ですから人間も長生きはしないで、その長生きするまでに健康で生きられる、健康で生きられるっていうのが水素ですからネズミにですね水素やるとですねあるところまで行くとみんなパタパタパタって死んでくれるんですね。ですからそういう意味で水素水飲んだから150歳まで生きるとかですね200歳まで生きるってことはきっとないと思うんですが、100歳まで皆さん元気で生きてっていうそういう社会になるんじゃないかなって期待して。
もうそれ望む社会じゃないですか。
そうなんですね。であまりにも話がちょっとねうますぎるんで、なんか本当かなってみんなに思われてしまうんです。
姿が見えないですからね。
Power on. Kangen water 8.5. Kangen water 9.0. Kangen water 9.5.
This is interesting. Many of us have heard of these, natural healing waters and all this kind of hocus-pocus stuff. Actually, some of these waters, though, have been documented to have potential therapeutic benefits. And when you go back to the waters, and some scientists have gone back there, and they've actually tested these waters to see what's in them, and guess what they found? Hydrogen gas. The hydrogen gas could be in the waters via maybe anaerobic bacteria or basalt catalyzed reaction from the various metals in the water, but some of these waters contain small amounts of hydrogen gas. So it's pretty interesting.